It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to inspire, our mission is to empower. And our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Rozlan Luck, and she'll be talking about knowing the difference between being healed and being whole. I didn't know there was a difference, but we'll figure that out in a minute. What's going on, Rozlan? How are you?
Hi, Chet. It's such an amazing day, and I am doing wonderfully.
Well, thanks for being here. Thanks you. Appreciate that. And thank you to viewers, by the way. Thank you for allowing us to stream into your home during these very remarkable times. It's an honor and a privilege. Now, Rozlan, some people have seen your bio. Some people have not. Some people have Googled you. Some people have not. But I'm curious. You're talking about knowing the difference between being healed and whole. When you talk about healed, what does healed mean? Can you give us some context around that so the audience knows what we're talking about?
Absolutely, Shay. I come from a background where there was some domestic violence. So, going through life after getting out of that situation, I went on. I didn't get any type of counseling for that. I just moved forward. I just kept moving. And a lot of us do that today, and we confuse healing with whole. Healing or healed. Um, I got through it. I moved forward, and I continued to progress, to thrive in what I was doing, but I wasn't done with it. There was still remnants, there was still reminders, there were still triggers, if you will. So being healed means I can get up, I can put my clothes on, and I can move forward in everyday life without you knowing any difference of what's happened to me.
We're going to get into your backstory in a few moments. Thanks for sharing. And, you know, for someone that's watching right now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but hey, this is what she does, ladies and gentlemen. She helps folks. If someone's watching right now, again, this is a loaded question, and they're going through, you've been through domestic violence. They're in a situation and they're tuning in and they can hear the sound of our voice. They can see you now. What's one, two, or three suggestions that you may give that person? Again, I know it's a loaded question and different levels, but what would you say to that person right now that's in a situation that's been struggling to kind of get out of it?
Absolutely. Sure, there is life after domestic violence. There is life after any traumatic experience. So if you're in the midst of it, I would say to you right now, think it through and make a move. It's okay. You're not alone. And there are resources that are private. There are resources that will help you step by step. No one's going to push you off of a cliff. You can do it one step at a time. There are people that can help you and hold your hand as much as you need it to be held. Don't be ashamed. You've done nothing wrong. Walk in it and let's move forward.
Walk in it and let's move forward. Powerfully said. They're like, okay, Shay, I heard her and I feel her. And that's one of the things I love when I got a chance to meet you. And some people I never get a chance to meet. And that's fine. I only meet them through the power of these fiber optic lines. But you and I, we've had a chance to sit down. We had a chance to talk. I know where your heart is. You have a heart to give and a heart to serve. But other people don't know you. As famous as you are, they don't know you. So can you take a moment, if you would, and tell us a little bit about who are you? And then what was your backstory that led you to doing what you're doing now?
Absolutely. I am Rozlan Luck. I am a master life and mindset transformation coach. I reach out to young women or older women or middle aged women. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be a woman, but anyone that has dealt with any traumatics from a domestic violence. Now, that could be the victim, that could be the children, that could be a friend of a spouse or a friend of the person that was going through. I help them make one thing clear: there is life. and there is life deserving of living, and we have to move forward in that. My backstory and how I got here was I've been in logistics for over 30 plus years, managing and coaching, training, developing other leaders. And I found that people often gravitated to me that were having issues. And I would be the sounding board. I would talk them through, I would help them. And being burnout, like I said, over 30 plus odd years in logistics, I didn't love it anymore. But I found that when I'm helping someone, or if I saw someone grow through information or through knowledge or empowerment that I was able to give to them, that made me happy. That felt fulfilling for me. So, uh, not of my own choosing, maybe about 3 weeks ago, I lost my corporate job. And so I decided, perfect timing, let's do it. So I launched the Power of You coaching business. And now I do reach out to those individuals on a full time basis, and I'm here to help. I was abused, as I stated, some odd years ago. It's more than 28, 29 years ago now. Um, I got married against the advice of my parents, and I knew better because I was grown and I knew how to do this thing, so I did it. And it didn't take many days. It was actually on my wedding night that I saw who he really was. Afraid, like many are, because I wasn't prepared, I wasn't ready. And a lot of people will tell you or advise you, oh, just leave. It's not that simple, it's not that easy. So once I walked that path and went through many difficult days and nights, I had to make a decision. It was live or die at that point. And I wanted to live. I had a lot to live for, and I wanted to live. But I moved forward, like I said earlier, without counseling, without help. I walked and I just kept walking, and I didn't look back. And it was a lot of things internally that had not been healed, had not been surfaced. And later, many years later, I am married now, 26 years, and he is absolutely the love of my life. But he suffered from those remnants just a little bit until I decided, oh wait, you may need some help. And I did what I'm offering other people right now. I did that, but it took me setbacks to get to that point, and I almost lost a jewel that is now a part of my life for 26 years. I almost lost that because I hadn't dealt with those graveyard, those bones. I hadn't dealt with those.
As you were speaking, you talked about making sure that you deal with something that's there. What, as you were going through it, when you were working with other folks, how did you handle working with, I don't know, therapists or counselors or other individuals? And the question I'm going to is that before we get more back on healed and whole is, and I'll just say in my little small world, I'm not gonna say that my community and race and all this, but in my small world, there's this negative stigmatization, right? Like we don't have to go get help. We just go to
Yeah.
church, and I'm a Christian, so we just go to church, they pray, and everything should be fine. But you also sound like seeked help. And sometimes that could be a negative stigmatization, the circle I'm in. So what are your thoughts and feelings if someone out there is saying, well, they're going to view me as I'm crazy, or they're going to view me that I should get everything I need at one place. I guess the question directly is, what are your thoughts and feelings on seeking outside help outside of whatever faith you believe in, and feeling good about it? Does that make sense?
Yes. Shay, I'm a Jesus girl from the heart all the way to the soul. And that was one of my biggest drawbacks. Early on in the situation, it was like, well, if I pray about it, if I pray hard enough, I'll get through it. I'll get through it. I'll get through it. And I was praying, and that's what helped me continue to move forward. But I still hadn't dealt with the remnants. I still hadn't dealt with the baggage. Even though we believe in Christ, when we come down off that plane after we've prayed and we landed safely, we still got to unpack those bags because those bags don't unpack themselves. So, how I looked at it or how I viewed it is I still had to unpack those bags. I had to face it, I had to deal with it because you know why? I didn't know what to pray for. I didn't know what to ask him to take away. I didn't know what to ask him to remove or to help me get through because I wasn't talking about it. So, and I had to come to grips with that myself because I'm also an evangelist, and that's what I was taught. I was taught that we are believers and we don't need outside help. He's our everything. And God is definitely that for believers, but he also gives us wisdom, and he put doctors and counselors and here people here for a reason, and that's for us to utilize them. You just have to know your boundaries, you have to know the differences. um, it took me quite a while to get to where I would seek help because I didn't need help because I wasn't crazy. I wasn't, here's the main one for a lot of survivors is I'm no longer weak. I got
Mm.
this. But we have to realize that until we unpack those bags, we'll have a lot of dirty laundry that's uncontended with.
You talk about dirty laundry that are under there. You talk about being in a relationship and you're now married 26 years. What advice would you give to the person that's on the other side? Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a counseling session, so I know we're not laying down on the couch or anything, but I'm curious if Shay Brown is with someone and they've had some trauma, let's call it that, in their life. Um,
Mhm.
what are some things what's one, two, or three recommendations you would recommend to Shay Brown, who has to deal with someone that's going through the healing process? Any advice that you would offer that person that's listening as well right now?
Absolutely. Patience, grace, and here's what you do. Don't try to fix it, but ask, what can I do to help? That was big in my relationship, is that he is the most patient man I've ever dealt with in my whole entire life, person for that matter. And he gave me grace, but he didn't understand initially what was happening. So if you are uh, a significant other, if you're a child and you see mood swings, extreme mood swings, if you see drawbacks, if you see a closed door often, ask questions, not prying, but just simply want to know, genuinely want to know, are you okay? Those words mean a lot. And sometimes you have to ask more than one time, especially if you know the significant other. No, really. Are you okay? And how can I help? What is it that you need to move forward? That was big for me.
I love it, by the way. I love it. You talked about being whole, and you talked about so knowing the difference between being healed and being
Mhm.
whole. At what point how does someone measure whether they're whole or not? I don't know if that's a question or not, but it's kind of like, okay, I believe I'm healed, but what's my measuring stick to see if I'm whole or not? Is it, did I feel good that morning? Is it that I don't have any more nightmares? Is it that, I'm not breaking on cold sweats? Again, I'm not making fun of it. I'm just curious for your
Absolutely.
view of the world. What are some things, I'll say this, here's the question. What are a few things or areas that we should look for to start knowing that we're getting to a whole perspective and just beyond healed? Does that make sense?
It does. So once I realized that there were some things I needed to deal with, it became easier for me to have conversations about it. So I accepted that this happened to me, but it wasn't who I was, or it's not who I am. So when I felt a trigger, and I'll give you an example. We were in the midst of my mother-in-law transitioning. So my husband was, he was really going through it. They were super close, and he was really feeling the remnants of it. And one day, I asked the question. I didn't hear him. I was in the back of the house. He's in the front. And I asked it again, and he raised his voice. That was a trigger for me. Um, so I immediately shut down. and I got an attitude, and no, you not, what you not about to do is talk to me like that, and so on and so forth. So I knew then that there was something wrong, that I can't take certain things when certain things happen, when those triggers come up. So how I knew the difference is now I'm able to have a conversation. Honey, I didn't like how that made me feel. Did you mean to do that? And you ask those questions. And when those triggers happen, you don't automatically shut down. You don't automatically get defensive or offended. You are able to have a conversation through a trigger in the midst of it. Being whole means I have accepted the journey that I've taken. I find for me personally, it was necessary for me to be the woman that I am and for me to reach the people that I reached. And not only that, I mothered four boys. For me to have a voice in their lives and make sure that this doesn't happen to another woman from those four boys was my commitment, and they reach other men that they come into contact with as well. So being whole for me is able to do what I'm doing right now. It was a while where you would have never known this about me. Nobody would know this about me because you don't talk about that. What happens at home stays at home. You don't discuss that. So now the way that I gauge whole is that I can talk about it without bawling and crying and curling up in a ball in the corner. I can advise on it, and I can tell you exactly what happened to me and not shut down. And I'm able to work through a trigger as it's happening to me because I recognize what's happening, and I recognize what path I need to take, rather than an automatic switch that flicks off. And that's with any traumatic experience. PTSD is real, and it's across the board. It's not just for military people that have come out and seen horrific things. PTSD is a real thing in most traumatic experiences.
And just to jump in for a moment, because I hear your passion, PSTD. I mean, I went to DC public schools, and I might be the only one that's wanting to know what is PSTD and why is it so relevant to the conversation. So, if you don't mind slowing down for a moment, I don't mean to interrupt you. I can feel your passion. I hear your heart. But what is PSTD? PSTD,
PTSD.
and how does that relate to humans and emotions and so forth? Just so we have some context. And I know some of you out there, you got a lot of letters behind your name. You got it. You're like, Shay, I got it. I get it. But other of us, we're trying to make sure we follow the conversation. So do you mind slowing down for a moment, and then we can speed back up?
Yes, it's post traumatic syndrome, and mostly people that have been through a traumatic situation. Um, you don't know the extent of what you can handle, Shay. I may not be able to handle it. May affect me differently. We could stand side by side and see the same thing or go through the same thing, and you move forward like it's nothing, and I'm stuck. That's what PTSD does. It captures you in a moment, and a lot of times if not dealt with, you can't move past that. You live in that moment. If you've ever seen those that have come out of war, they get stuck. They have dreams. They sometimes they just go into uh, time frame that most traumatize them, and they're stuck there. That happens for men and women of domestic violence, and I say men too because men don't speak on it, but they go through it. And there is there's a need for them too. So I wanted to shameless plug that I can help you too. If you are male and you have been in that situation, you just need to talk to somebody, and it is okay. It is okay to absolutely um, get seek help for that, because that too is a very real thing.
Yeah. Well said. You know, one of our segments here is a segment called Today is My January 1st. Now, I know you've already framed a number of setbacks you had, but it's a segment for those folks that tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that I know you wait for, right? You wait for the opportunity to say during the show that you can say those magic words, especially if you know what I'm about to do. You can go and say those magic words. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you. I know it feels good. For all the folks who are joining the Happy Entrepreneur Show for the very first time, welcome to the family. We're honored that you're here, that you're allowing us to stream into your home right now. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is or how bright and sunny the past is, the past really no longer equals the future. And so my question for Rozlan on the other side as she's listening in is really two parts. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And what was another moment? Maybe there was a challenge or setback you had, and how did you bounce back from it?
Oh, absolutely. When I hear those words, I think immediately about a second chance or third or fourth. But I get an opportunity to, number one, touch on the things that I didn't get to touch on last year or yesterday. And number two, I get to make it better because anything that I failed at, I know what I did wrong. And I get an opportunity on January 1st to start fresh, do it over, and erase those mistakes. Now, setbacks. Talked about a number of them. Uh, being a survivor that was healed but not whole. So dealing a lot of relationships that may have gotten uh, slighted in that area. But the biggest one has been the loss of my corporate income over the last 3 weeks. It has really, really um, given me an opportunity to rely wholly and depend definitely on the Lord for my source as my source because I was unprepared for it, and um, it has taken a lot of strategy, and it has taken a lot of uh, intuitiveness to just move forward, to just keep it going because I almost got stuck there. So because I've had a job ever since I was 17 years old, so I didn't know how to not have a job and to rely solely on me for that income. So that setback had only propelled me to do this, to meet people like you, Shay, and to do something like this that I would have not been able to do had I not lost that job and chosen another avenue to go.
I love it, by the way. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so authentic and open with us. Oftentimes I get to ask a question that's one of my favorite questions to ask is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I'll frame it for the audience so they're kind of clear that, you're not coming off the mountain with the 10 commandments here, but you certainly read a lot of books, had a lot of mentors. You've been on a journey for quite some time. But if you had to reach back and say, wow, Shay, this is one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given, what would it be? And what would you share with the audience?
You're enough. You are enough. I've had a lot of disappointments where before counseling, before moving into total wholeness, that I felt like I didn't deserve to sit at certain tables. Um, if you're living and breathing, and if you have a voice to speak, you're enough.
You are enough, by the way. Wow. I love it. And when you're not out saving the world, helping women bounce back or men bounce back or helping them have the right mindset, the right belief system so they can be healed and whole, which means they can then live the life they deserve. What are you doing for fun these days?
Oh, I'm a reader. I love to read and to write. I also scribe, but I'm a church girl, as I said. So as much time as I can spend there, that's what I do. We have a lot. Our church is very, very busy, so we have a lot of activities, a lot of things around community service that we do. But I love reading mostly and writing.
Well, you can't leave us hanging. They're all one and Shay. What's one of the books she's read? I mean, other than the Bible. You can't say that. But she's a voracious reader. Number one, what type of books does she read? We're all curious. And then what's one of the books you read recently is kind of top of mind to you? If you don't have to share, but just know we're all curious since you said you love to read.
Yes, I'm reading Strong by Lisa Bevere.
Oh,
She is she's a religious writer, but she has the most amazing set of books, and it's centered around the strength of a Christian woman, um, and how you can live both, right? Not straddle the fence, but you can be a strong Christian and still operate in the world systems. But you just have to remember who you are. So that's when I'm in the middle of that one right now. And it is a really good book. It's a really good read.
how cool is that? As we come down the home stretch, a two-part question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days, if any? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? If they want to stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have right now, how should they find you?
Right. I do have a website, and that's all about me. Of course, that's what a website is built to do, and it shows just see if I'm a fit for you, and that's www.roslanluck.com. Simple enough. www.roslanluck.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and you can find me on Instagram. There is a calendar in the website. If you want to just have a conversation, just see if this is something for you. Just reach out to me, put your name on my calendar, and let's have a chat.
There you go. Let me say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Shay.
And thank you. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, we don't have a show. And I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that you're really amazing. You're incredible. No matter right now if you're going to the next level of whatever success looks like for you, or if you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming. The one thing I know to be true for sure is that today, in this moment, is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name hasn't changed. It's still Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And we'll make some good things how we connect again next time. God bless. And we'll see you on the other side. Thanks so much, by the way. I'll see you later, Roz. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.